Well, hello and welcome back to the Tao Manifesting Tarot, the most unusual tarot reading on the planet. I feel pretty safe in saying that because nobody does it the way I do. And that's because I do it in a rather adult fashion. The rainbows, lollipops, those kinds of things. I don't go in for that. I've done tarot for over 20 years. In that time, I have discovered it really, from my point of view, doesn't predict a damn thing. What it does do, however, is talk about your potential. Manifesting, creating the pictures inside your own head, not from some computer, not from some smartphone, not from artificial intelligence, but from your own head, your own spirit, your own heart. That's the kryptonite. That's the stuff that you need. Now, we all are very good, believe it or not, at manifesting, but we're doing it in a negative way. I don't do this. I can't have this. I'm not this, or whatever the heck. It's all negative. And so in the end, you're going, well, gee, I got nothing that I wanted. Well, because that's what you focused on. You were programmed to do that. They want you to do that. Rockefeller said that I don't want a nation of thinkers. I want a nation of workers. They are looking for human doings, not human beings. You get that yet? Are you aware of that yet? If you're not aware of that, you're not going to manifest positively. You have to be aware of the fact that you've been misused, abused, lied to, cheated. In fact, the man who ran the CIA back in the 80s, and I can't think of his name right at this moment, but he said, we know or will know when our job is finished at the CIA, when everything Americans believe is a lie. Well, we have come to that conclusion. The last few years have opened the eyes of a lot of people, and as you begin to dig, you begin to get in the muck. So, the antidote, manifesting positive tarot. Use that kryptonite. Today, we're talking about lights, ready, action. Like they used to say in the old days, making movies, right? What we're basically talking about is yang energy, Y-A-N-G. That's the male form of energy. That's the movement. That's the push. That's the action. It's the opposite of yin energy or the feminine energy. That is also important energy, especially you put the two together. It's a nice balance, but we're not talking about that. Yin is more passive, more quiet, more behind the scenes. Yang energy or yang energy is in your face. Not in a combative way necessarily, but in a very powerful, positive way. You do stuff. You don't just talk about it. You don't just think about it. You don't just dream about it. All those things are important in their proper place, but you actually get off your ass and put all that energy into action. And that's what we're focused on today. The fact that you grab yourself by your short hairs and you say to yourself, time to get it done. And it is time to get it done. And we will get it done. But I just want to remind you now I have an email, single email that you can contact me at. I would wish that you do. It's tau-tarot at proton.me. Trying to get off the Gmail stuff, trying to get away from Google as far as I can. I don't like their connections, like Palantir, among others. So I'm trying to find some sidestep. And so here is the single email I would like to have you contact me with. And I am pretty good. I check it almost every day. Tau-tarot at proton.me. And I thank you in advance. So today, lights, ready, action. Yang energy, that's what we're out to do. We're out to make sure that we get you fired up, we get you manifesting. Now, to do this, this is again where this Tao Manifested Tarot reading is a little different. Yes, we use tarot. Yes, tarot is the destination. It's like setting a table with a beautiful dinner, and the dinner is the tarot. But the table setting, the way you lay out the food, that we go to numerology and astrology. I've done tarot for 20 years. I've done numerology and astrology for 50. Numerology and astrology, they talk about cycles and cycles and cycles and cycles and cycles and cycles, which makes it very difficult to sort out. It's more like chop suey than anything else. And I've never, ever, ever, myself included, ever really found an astrologer who really could crystallize, distill the message. It was a bunch of different messages all colliding together, and then you figure it out for yourself. Well, that's not very helpful, certainly not at this historic time, when literally, and I'm not overstating it, humanity is on the brink. One thing or another is going to move us forward. That yang energy, one thing or another. It will either be us being intelligent, guiding ourselves to a better future. That means we're going to have to suffer. That means we're going to have to sacrifice. It means that we're going to have to change, but at least we will be in charge. I don't think that's going to happen. There's a very real possibility that some asshole is going to pull the plug and we'll get into a nuclear war. We do that, it's all over. We could have solar flares. That could wipe stuff out and move us back to 1800. No electricity, no nothing. I mean, literally, we would lose 250 years in an instant if that happened. Then, of course, there's asteroids or comets from space. They would have the similar effect. We have earthquakes, volcanoes. It could be a combination of any of those. And then the final little part is this robotic revolution they're threatening us with. Right? They're already getting into it. People are already getting sucked up into the artificial intelligence. I don't have to think. I can simply just ask ChatGPT or whatever you use. I don't have to think. Yeah, you have to. Yeah, you have to. That's the ultimate human expression. You think on your own. You take responsibility, which history has shown that we're not so good at. However, we're not at that point. We are going to go through a transition, and it's up to us as to whether or not it's a positive transition or we wipe out humanity. I'm not going to get into all the things right now. I could literally go for several hours with all the information that we've gathered in terms of our ability to wipe ourselves out. Suffice it to say, we're fully capable of completely destroying humanity, but we're fully capable of also saving humanity. It's our choice. Lights, ready, action. So let's get to it. I mentioned astrology, numerology, how important it is. Numerology, we're going to the 1850s, and I'm going to kind of hone it down for you a little bit. What I'm going to tell you is that the 1850s run by the number 5. 5 is change. It's between 1 and 0. It's right there in the middle. So we find ourselves in very much that same position now. We're right there. We're on the edge. We can go either way, and that's what a 5 suggests. And the 1850s was very much that kind of energy. 1850s, slavery shifts from the deep south. It moves out west. The European bankers support the North in the upcoming Civil War. A flood of European immigrants comes into the country. There's this concept of interchangeable parts. Never thought of that before. They never did that before. But Eli Whitney kind of led the thing where you can go, oh, this part, well, yeah, we have it over here. We made a separate part. We can just replace it. Never thought about that before. Well, with that idea of interchangeable parts, the idea of factories begins to spread and grow. Not a good thing. And the final point from the 1850s is that corporate America grows. So we see slavery shifting to the West, European bankers putting money into this country. They're investing, which means they want to return. European immigrants help those European bankers help take over America. The idea of factories and interchangeable parts makes corporate America even stronger. We are leaving the America of 1776 and moving into a more industrialized, mechanical kind of situation. Now, astrology wise, very fascinating stuff. Saturn and Neptune, I'm not going to get into the astrology of it. I'll just keep it simple and direct. Saturn and Neptune are in the sky. They're in a tough match. They're not fitting one another. So Saturn wants to control, Neptune wants to fantasize. It's oil and water. It just doesn't mix. So while we have people wanting to organize America to their own imagination, it's the imagination that stops them. We have Uranus and Neptune in a supportive match. That's the idea of changing. Again, this Neptune stuff. There's a real deal in the 1850s about this. Oh, we could have this beautiful thing, but it isn't so beautiful. The Saturn kind of gets in the way. The Uranus and Neptune kind of push. Well, we're ready for change. Let's go to this beautiful new place. And the final comparison is Jupiter and Pluto, which says there's a lot of money involved, a lot of power involved, a lot of greed involved, a lot of push. So it's almost as if the power structure is pushing us to their dream, but we're not aware of what their dream is. They may not even be in the 1850s, but you can see the energy. It's moving in that kind of direction. So, with that in mind, the meme for today is, at this point, I am willing to pay more money for an appliance with no smart features, just the physical knobs, buttons, controls for everything. I have some appliances here in my home. They've been around for 30 plus years. They work like a charm. Simple, clean, direct. But the corporate structure doesn't want it that way. They want to control every part and piece. So they want it electronic so they can shut it down because they got the algorithms. It takes nothing to shut the electricity off. I suspect at some point they will do it just to bring us to our knees, because if we lose electricity for a week across America, we'll surrender. We'll surrender. We were not going to fight back. It's just too hard. I can't fight back. So that's kind of just a reality check. Here we're talking about the 1850s. They're moving towards factories. They're moving towards more complex things. Our whole mentality, factory mentality given to us by people like Rockefeller, is starting in the 1850s. And right now, 100 years or so down the road, we go, whoa, whoa, this dream is a nightmare. We go to the missing link. I have mentioned earlier the 1850s was sort of a gradual shifting away from and down the road for slavery. And I just threw this in because I had this little piece of information. The Barbary slave trade, which was very big, enslaved white Europeans for over 300 years, longer than African American slavery. In fact, the word slave comes from the Slavic people, the Polish people, Lithuanian people, Hungarian people, Czechoslovakian people. And the reason the word slave comes from the Slavic people is because they were massively traded as slaves. So the concept that slavery initiated in America is crazy. In fact, there were over 3,000 black slave owners in the United States at that point. And we couldn't have gotten any of the slaves unless we had their chiefs in Africa support it. So I just brought this up as kind of a counterpoint. Also, how about our Constitution? If we stuck to the Constitution as it was originally written, we would have no federal meddling in schools. We'd have no Federal Reserve, no membership in the UN, no gun control, no foreign aid, no welfare for big corporations. They're bitching about Medicare, Medicaid. Oh, we can't afford it. We can't afford it. We give away trillions of dollars to business, and nobody says a damn thing. And there's a whole bunch more. You got the list there in front of you. None of this is constitutional. So at what point do we stand up for our Constitution? If we don't stand up for ourselves, at least our Constitution. That's the question. That's the yang energy. That's what's so very important. Lights, camera, action. Oh, well, we'll see if we can't get to that point. Let's do the tarot, huh? How about the Eight of Cups? It's walking away from something that you're attached to. Cups, people, many tarot readers, oh, it's romance, it's love. It is being emotionally connected to something or somebody. We're connected to the system. We think the system is great, even though the system on almost a daily basis kicks us in the balls. We still know we don't stop. Oh, there's our system. Oh, yeah. Capitalism, capitalism. The rich people tell us capitalism is great because it makes them rich. But what does it do to the rest of us? And we still don't get the message. Eight of Cups says you finally get the message and you walk away. Yeah, I know I'm comfortable with it. Yeah, I know I'm attached to it. It's no good for me. We begin to change our thinking. Knight of Swords. Knights always bring gifts. Swords are facts, truth. You're going to get a piece of truth delivered to you in a certain way, or something's going to register where all of a sudden you wake up and you go, I got it. Why didn't I get it sooner? That's what walking away from what you're emotionally connected to does. It opens up your brain, it starts you thinking. Final card is the Knight of Wands. You get, because you put yourself in this position, you walk away from what you're used to. It opens up your mind to new ideas, and that brings enthusiasm, the Wands energy, back into your life. You're actually plugged into your own life. What a concept! But that's where we are. Right now, that's where we are. At the most, we have between 2027 and 2030, I believe, according to the astrology, to either get it right, lights, camera, action, yang energy, move. Don't just think about it. Move. Get off your ass and move. Do something. Or it's all gone. We're that close. We're out of time, in fact, to be perfectly honest with you. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. Please remember the email. And also remember, I'm here every single day. So hopefully we can do some tarot tomorrow between now and the next time we do Manifesting Tarot. Peace and blessings.